You know what's about as useful as a screen door on a submarine? Running a construction company where your job money and overhead money are all stirred together in one big pot, and then wondering why you can't tell if you're making money until the job's already closed and buried. Most contractors I talk to treat their bank accounts like a community barbecue plate. Everything goes on the same dish: job costs, overhead, payroll, that loan payment on the skid steer. It's all swimming around together. And by the time you sort it out, you're eating pork and beans at the end of every job while your subs are driving new trucks. I'm Wade Carpenter, and today we're going to talk about JobEx. Profit First for Commercial Construction's construction-specific answer to keeping your job money from wandering off to pay overhead like a dog chasing chickens. Here's your construction reality check. If you got one bank account mixing job cash with overhead cash, you are flying blind. Period. It's like using the same toolbox for finishing screws and concrete anchors. Sure, it all fits in one box, but when you need precision, you're digging through chaos, hoping you grab the right thing before the foreman starts yelling. The original Profit First system, and I love Mike Michalowicz's work, it was slicker than a whistle for most businesses. Remove materials and subs from your revenue math? Brilliant. But here's the thing. It left all that cash sloshing around in your regular operating expenses like loose change in a pickup truck bed. Every time you hit a bump, and Lord knows construction has more bumps than a dirt road in April, that job money would roll around and get mixed up with your overhead. You'd pull cash to cover payroll, thinking you had plenty, not realizing you just spent Job A's material money on last month's insurance bill. PFCC created JobEx to fix that mess once and for all. Think of JobEx like this. It's a dedicated bank account that isolates every nickel of direct, job-specific cash outflows. Subcontractors, materials, permits, bonds, job-only labor, and rentals. If it touches one specific project, it goes in JobEx. Nothing else. It's like putting your job money in a separate cookie jar with a tight lid. Nobody can raid it to pay the light bill when times get tight. Now, the beauty of this separation isn't just organization. The real power is that it reveals true gross margin behavior as it happens, not 3 weeks later when your accountant gets around to running reports. When your job cash starts draining faster than a busted rain barrel, you know it immediately. No waiting around for month-end close to tell you what you should have known yesterday. And cross-job contamination becomes about as obvious as a skunk at a garden party. You can't accidentally spend Job A's money on Job B's subcontractor when they're sitting in different accounts. Now, knowing what goes in your JobEx account and what doesn't is like knowing which end of the hammer to hold. Get it wrong, and you're gonna hurt yourself. The rule is cleaner than fresh laundry. If it's tied to one specific job and it's temporary, it goes in JobEx. If it's company-wide or long-term, it stays out. The yes list. Put these in JobEx. Subcontractors and materials tied to a specific job. This one's obvious. If you're paying the plumber for work on the Johnson project, that's JobEx money. Job-specific W-2 field labor. And this is where folks get confused. That carpenter you called up for 3 days to frame out Job 104? That's JobEx money. His wages go right in there because you hired him specifically for that one job. But that crew you keep on payroll, whether you've got work or not, that's overhead, partner. That stays in OpEx. Short-term, project-dedicated equipment rentals. That boom lift you rented for 2 weeks to reach the church steeple. JobEx. But that skid steer you're making monthly payments on and using across multiple jobs, that stays in OpEx where it belongs. Permits and performance bonds required for a specific job. City permit for Project A? Job X. Performance bond for that school renovation? Job X. But your annual contractor's license renewal for your whole company? That's OpEx, friend. Testing and inspection fees mandated by the job specs, like that concrete testing the engineer required for the Henderson project. But your annual lab certification to stay on the approved vendor list? That's company overhead. Permit expediters and job-specific consultants you hired just for one project. But that business consultant you keep on retainer for general advice? OpEx all the way. The no list. Keep these out. Long-term equipment leases, financed equipment, and major repairs. PFCC has a whole separate CapEx account for that stuff, and it gets funded from OpEx, never from JobEx. Mixing up this boundary is like putting sugar in your gas tank. You might get away with it for a little while, but eventually that engine's going to seize up. Any cash that serves multiple jobs or the company as a whole. If it benefits more than one job, it doesn't belong in JobEx. Your office rent? OpEx. Your estimator salary? OpEx. That truck your foreman drives to 3 different job sites every day? OpEx. The napkin test is simple. Can you write a specific job number next to this expense? If yes, JobEx. If no, OpEx. Here's where JobEx gets as useful as a good bird dog. It transforms job cost from a backward-looking accounting exercise into a real-time, cash-based early warning system. Let me show you how this works with some quick napkin math. You bid a job for $500,000. Your materials and subs on the estimate came to $350,000. That leaves $150,000 for overhead and profit, right? Should be a solid job. But here's what actually happens without JobEx. You start paying bills out of your general operating account. 3 weeks in, you spend $15,000 on that boom lift rental. Then another $8,000 for that extra carpenter. Then $3,000 for the permit expediter. Then $1,500 for soil testing nobody remembered to bid. All of a sudden, your JobEx costs aren't $350,000. They're $377,500. And you don't find out until the job's half done and your accountant finally reconciles everything. With JobEx, you see it happening in real time. Here's how. When JobEx cash starts draining faster than pay app receipts are coming in, you've got yourself a margin problem that's happening right now, not last month. Maybe it's scope creep nobody caught. Maybe it's a missed change order. Maybe your production crew is moving slower than molasses in January and burning more labor hours than you estimated. Whatever it is, JobEx tells you about it while you can still do something about it. This cash lens doesn't require perfect cost accounting or fancy software. It gives you actionable data during production when it matters, not after the job's closed and the damage is done. Now let's talk about retainage, which is about as popular with contractors as a wet dog at a wedding. Here's the problem. Most contractors treat retainage like found money sitting in their bank account. Wrong. Retainage is restricted cash that creates a timing nightmare. And if you're not careful, it'll strangle your cash flow faster than you can say change order. Let me show you the napkin math on a typical job. Total job value, $500,000, 10% retainage withheld, $50,000. Your cash reality fund, $500K of work with $450K of receipts. See the problem? You're doing $500,000 worth of work, paying subs, buying materials, renting equipment, but you're only getting $450,000 up front. That $50,000 retainage might not hit your account for 60, 90, sometimes 120 days after project completion. PFCC's solution is simple. Segregate retainage in a separate Retainage Reserve account. This prevents false liquidity signals that make you think you've got more operating cash than you actually do. It's like keeping your rent money in a separate envelope. You know it's there, but you also know it's not yours to spend on beer and barbecue until the landlord's been paid. But here's the kicker, and this is where most contractors mess up. You need to price your jobs to finance the retainage float. Either raise your profit targets or embed schedule-aware margins that cover the carrying cost of that delayed cash. Think about it. You're essentially providing free financing to the owner for 90 days. Would your bank loan you money for free? No, sir. So why are you doing it? In markets where retainage is big or long, you might need to bump up your buffer floors, your minimum cash reserves, to carry that float without starving your OpEx or leaving yourself eating beans again. Disciplined JobEx funding plus segregated retainage means you can pay your subs and suppliers reliably. And reliable payments mean better pricing and better schedule adherence from your trade partners. It's a virtuous cycle that starts with keeping your money sorted properly. You pay on time, your subs give you better bids next time, they show up when they say they will, your schedules stay on track, and everybody makes money. That's how it's supposed to work. Here's where most contractors mess up worse than putting ketchup on barbecue. They estimate one way and allocate another way, then wonder why their cash flow looks like a roller coaster designed by a drunk person. Standard estimating goes like this. Materials plus labor plus overhead plus profit equals price. Simple enough, but there's a fatal flaw. That estimate doesn't tell you how to actually allocate the cash when it comes in. You win the job, deposit the first payment, and then what? You're scrambling around trying to figure out how much to set aside for job costs versus overhead versus taxes versus profit. And usually what happens is whoever screams the loudest gets paid first. PFCC's allocation-calibrated estimating sheet fixes this by embedding your target JobEx, OpEx, and POT percentages right into your bid pricing. Here's what that looks like in practice. Let's say your typical job runs about 60% JobEx, 25% OpEx, and 15% for profit, owner's pay, and tax combined. Your POT number. You bid a job for $500,000. Before you even win it, you know $300,000 goes to JobEx for direct job costs, $125,000 goes to OpEx for overhead, $75,000 goes to POT for profit, owner pay, and taxes. Once you win that job, the revenue automatically funds the allocations you've embedded. No separate scramble for working capital. No borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. No midnight panic when payroll's due and you're not sure if you've got enough in the account. But here's the critical part. Your targets better reflect your unique reality. A heavy equipment rental trade is going to have a different JobEx percentage than a labor-intensive trade. Public work with retainage delays needs different margins than fast-pay private work. Blind copying generic tap percentages is like wearing someone else's boots. They might fit, but you're going to get blisters after the first mile. This bid-to-bank integration is the secret sauce that makes the whole system work. Every job you win self-funds the allocations it requires. That's planning ahead like a good scout, not scrambling around like a cat with his tail on fire. All right, let's talk about actually getting JobEx running in your company. It's about as straightforward as building a fence, but you've got to do it right or the whole thing falls over. Step 1, create that dedicated JobEx bank account. Go to your bank or open one online if you're into that sort of thing, and create a new checking account. Label it JobEx or job costs or direct project expenses. Whatever makes sense to you, but use it for nothing but direct job cash outflows. Keep it separate from OpEx, owner's pay, profit, tax, and CapEx like you're keeping different tools in different toolboxes. Step 2. Follow allocation first discipline. This is critical. Allocations happen before bills get paid. Period. No exceptions, even when payroll is breathing down your neck like a bull in a phone booth. This preserves the signal integrity of the whole system. If you start paying bills before allocating, you corrupt your data, and you can't trust what JobEx is telling you anymore. It's like calibrating a level after you've already poured the concrete. Bit late at that point. Step 3. Align your allocation weeks to your pay application calendar. This is where the rubber meets the road. Map your internal cutoffs to the GC's or owner's pay app cycle, so receipts line up with funding needs. If you're getting paid on the 30th, don't run out of JobEx money on the 28th. Structure your allocations so JobEx stays funded ahead of your payroll and supplier due dates. A little planning here prevents a whole lot of scrambling later. Step 4. For mega projects that eat money like a teenager eats pizza, consider project-labeled sub-accounts. Create JobEx, Henderson School and JobEx, City Hall renovation as separate sub-accounts under your main JobEx account. This isolates cash flow and retainage per project and keeps your accounting cleaner than a new whistle. Step 5. Train your subs on your documentation cadence. Get them billing you on time with proper documentation. Cleaner sub billing shortens your cash cycles and keeps JobEx funded when you need it. Happy subs who get paid on time tend to be pretty cooperative about this. The monitoring part is simple. Track JobEx outflows against pay app receipts for each job. When that ratio starts looking ugly, when you're spending $120 for every dollar of receipts, you've got your live gross margin indicator telling you to pay attention. That's your early warning system lighting up. Time to figure out what's bleeding and stop it. Now listen close, because this is where good intentions go to die like flowers in August heat. JobEx is not a hiding place for overhead. I cannot stress this enough. Putting company-wide costs in JobEx corrupts your gross margin signals and starves your other accounts. It's like putting diesel in a gas engine. You might get away with it for a little while, but it's going to blow up eventually. Your office rent doesn't go in JobEx. Your estimator's salary doesn't go in JobEx. Your annual insurance premiums don't go in JobEx. I don't care how tight cash is. If it's not job specific, it stays out. JobEx is not CapEx. PFCC uses a dedicated CapEx account for planned equipment purchases and major repairs. Funded from OpEx, never from JobEx. That new compressor you're buying? CapEx. Major repair on your excavator? CapEx. Monthly payment on financed equipment? OpEx. Mixing these up is like using a screwdriver as a hammer. You might get the job done, but you're gonna ruin your tools and probably hurt yourself in the process. JobEx is not a retainage slush fund. We already talked about this, but it bears repeating. Retainage is restricted money until the conditions are met for release. Treat it like borrowed money, because that's essentially what it is. The owner's holding it, but it's already spent on job costs. You can't spend it twice. JobEx only works as a signal tool when its contents are purely job-specific, direct, and temporary. Start mixing in overhead or long-term stuff, and you've turned your early warning system into white noise. You might as well not have it at all. The boundaries matter because the whole system depends on knowing what each account is telling you. When OpEx is high, that tells you one thing. When JobEx is high, it tells you something completely different. Mix them up and you can't tell anything. It's like having one gauge that measures oil pressure, water temperature, and fuel level all at once. When you get JobEx running right, and I mean really right, with proper boundaries and allocation discipline, good things happen like sunrise after a long night. First, you get truer gross margin visibility in real time by isolating direct job cash. No more waiting for month-end close. No more post-mortem autopsies on dead jobs. You see margin slippage while the job's still running, which means you can actually do something about it. Catch a problem at 20% completion. You can adjust production methods, file change orders, renegotiate supplier pricing, or have a come-to-Jesus meeting with your field crew. Catch it at 100% completion. You can write a check and learn an expensive lesson. Second, your subs and suppliers get paid more reliably, which improves their pricing and schedule adherence. This is the hidden benefit nobody talks about. When you pay on time consistently, your subs start treating you different. They give you better bids because they're not padding for the risk that you'll pay late. They show up when they say they will because they know you're good for the money. They cooperate on schedule compression because they trust you. That trust is worth more than gold in this business. Third, cross-job cash contamination becomes a thing of the past. Along with those end-of-project crises where you're scrambling because retainage got spent 3 months ago and now you can't make final payments. Fourth, your estimating and pricing actually fund production because allocations are embedded at bid time. No more hoping and praying that the next job's deposit will cover last job's expenses. Every job stands on its own 2 feet financially. And fifth, your cash forecasting gets cleaner than a new penny when job and overhead cash streams are visibly separated. You can plan ahead instead of reacting to whatever crisis walks through the door today. That ability to plan, to think 3 months ahead instead of 3 days ahead, that's the difference between owning a business and being owned by one. Look, I know this is a lot to digest. JobEx isn't complicated, but it is different from how most contractors operate. And different feels uncomfortable at first, like breaking in new boots. But here's the thing, uncomfortable is better than broke. And if you're tired of wondering where your money went at the end of every job, if you're sick of working your tail off just to stay broke, if you want to actually see your margins while you still have time to protect them, JobEx is your answer. The complete system is laid out in the book, Profit First for Commercial Construction. You can grab it on Amazon. I'll walk you through JobEx, OpEx, the whole allocation system, how to set up your accounts, how to calibrate your targets to your specific business. Everything you need is in there. Or if you want hands-on help getting this implemented in your company, because I know some of you would rather have somebody walk you through it than figure it out from a book, head over to ProfitFirstConstruction.com and schedule a call with our team. We've helped hundreds of contractors set up these systems, and we can help you too. But here's what I want you to remember. JobEx isn't just another bank account. It's your early warning system. It's your margin protector. It's your path to reliable cash flow, all rolled into one. Set it up right, respect the boundaries, and watch your construction business start behaving like the profitable operation it was meant to be. Because at the end of the day, you can't manage what you can't see. And JobEx makes your job costs as clear as sweet tea on a summer day. If you got value from this video, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss the next one. We're doing a whole series on Profit First for Construction, and next week we're diving into OpEx, how to know what your overhead should really be and how to keep it from eating you alive. I'm Wade Carpenter. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.